Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'd like to take a much closer look at all this low carbohydrate nonsense. And man, when I say nonsense, it is total nonsense. And I'm sure I'm ruffling some feathers out there, and they need to be ruffled because it's for your own good. Now, I know how cognitive bias works. Sure, you can find a lot of information that makes it look like this is the right way to go. And there are a lot of people who get results and it seems like it's the right way to go. But we have to first start off by looking at this simplistically. The way I like to make it simple is to look at food and ask a simple question. Does that food want me to eat it? Am I designed to eat it? Is there a symbiotic relationship with the food that wants me to eat it? And if there is, does it have a lot of carbohydrates or not a lot of carbohydrates? Now let's take a look at the foods that don't have any carbohydrates. Do they want us to eat it? Hell no! Who wants to be eaten? Except for things that have a symbiotic relationship with us, who want us to eat it so we will help it spread and grow and procreate. We're part of the process. So the foods that want us to eat it are high in carbohydrates for a reason, because that's what we're designed to eat. And to really understand whether or not we should eat high carbohydrates or low carbohydrates, we have to look closer at our carbohydrate fuel tank. and this is what got me started on this journey long ago, is I figured out a mathematical way to analyze my carbohydrate fuel tank. That's why I started to write a book on weight loss 28 years ago, because I can prove mathematically what happens to this carbohydrate fuel tank and how most people who lose weight end up losing muscle and the metabolism goes down, and that's the big yo-yo diet. There's like 3 ways to yo-yo diet, but this is the one that's the most common. And what happens is we eat less calories than we burn, but what we do wrong is we use portion control instead of food selection. Our fat intake is too high, and we don't fill up our carbohydrate fuel tank. It empties, and then the body goes after lean body tissue to create the carbohydrates it needs. Now, in contrast, when we look at these low-carb diets, they want this to happen. They want that carbohydrate fuel tank to empty, but then their way to keep the body from eating itself is to consume a whole lot of protein, which we don't need. We don't want complex. We want simple amino acids. That's in fruit, the free floating amino acids. We don't want protein. We don't want complex, and those animals don't want us to eat it. So that's how they protect our lean body mass. Well, I'm going to consume so much extra dead animal flesh that I won't have to eat my own flesh. Hey, I can do that and not lose my flesh. Well, it works. Yes, up to 58% of excess dietary protein can be used for gluconeogenesis, the creation of new glucose, when our carbohydrate fuel tank empties. We don't want that to happen. That's an emergency mode for when things don't start working. So let's make this simple once again. Look at things simplistically. How should we live? Well, it shouldn't be complicated. Obviously, we have a species-specific diet. It only makes sense that that would only be something we have a symbiotic relationship with, and it's high in carbohydrates. So now, if we're designed to eat carbohydrate-rich foods, and we have fuel tanks that range from maybe 1,200, 1,500 to 1,800 calories, then what do we got? What happens is this is how we're designed. We go around, we eat fruit. Our fuel tank may be a 1,500 max fuel tank. We may be down to 1,000. And then we eat 10 bananas, and we eat more carbohydrates than we need, which is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to top off our carbohydrate fuel tank every time we eat. The excess then is stored as fat. When we look at our fat, this is another argument that just drives me crazy. Well, there's no essential needs for carbohydrates. Well, we have essential needs for fats, but what is it, 1 or 2%? The reason why we don't have essential needs for carbohydrates is because no one understands how to keep track of this carbohydrate fuel tank, and it varies so much from day to day. And you can't just say fruit's going to make you fat. It's going to turn to fat, because in this example I just gave, yeah, our fuel tank was at 1,500, our total. We're at 1,000. We had 10 bananas, about 1,000 calories, and most of that, like 90% of it is carbohydrates. So we got at least 900 calories of carbohydrates, and we only needed 500 to fill our fuel tank off. So the 400 excess is then converted to fat, and we lose 130 of those. That's 30% to convert it into fat. And then we store it as fat. So that's how we're supposed to be getting our fat, from the excess carbohydrates. Now, what happens if another situation happens where I have a 1,500 calorie carbohydrate small fuel tank and I'm down to 500, and then I only eat 5 bananas? Well, that's only 500 calories at total. I didn't fill up my carbohydrate fuel tank, so none of it turned to fat, and I still have a fuel tank that's not totally full. So in order to understand and make some sense out of low carb, high carb, you have to understand simplicity. You have to understand how we're designed and why we were given a small fuel tank, because if it was a bigger fuel tank and we're eating the food we're meant to eat that's high in carbohydrates, how big would our carbohydrate fuel tank be if it was bigger? And the thing we have to understand about this is the reason why our body uses fat to store this energy is because it's twice as dense at least, and with carbohydrates, for every molecule of carbohydrates we store 3 molecules of water with it, so it's very heavy. An average carbohydrate fuel tank can weigh up to 1.5 pounds pretty easily because of the additional water. So you can see why we have a small carbohydrate fuel tank. If it was much bigger, we'd be having too much bulk. So in the simple wisdom and how we are designed, we got a carbohydrate fuel tank that's always going to be topped off because we're eating the food that wants us to eat it. That's how we're designed. We should always have plenty of energy. Now what happens when there's no food available? Well, a 1500 carbohydrate fuel tank, if you're relatively active, might last 3 days. If you're totally inactive, it might last a little longer, but 60% of our calories at rest are fat, and then our brain is working completely off of sugar, off of glucose. So what happens after about 3 days of the body being exposed to this, the body knows what's going on, and it has backup systems. That's when ketosis kicks in, saying, look, my brain needs some fuel, so let's switch it over from the carbohydrates to the fats. And then, in addition to that, if the body has received no food at all, then the body says, look, good time to start cannibalizing things that don't belong inside of us. We need things to sustain ourselves. So now we go into a mode that's nothing short of miraculous. When we fast and autolysis kicks in, a self-digestive mode, the same principle is working that works when a caterpillar morphosizes into a butterfly. Think about how a caterpillar can change and go into a butterfly. When we fast, the same miraculous things happen inside of our body. That's why we have incidences of animals that were injured and you didn't see them, and they held up in a barn and they didn't eat food for 60, 80 days, and they come back and all their bones are completely rebuilt, repaired, and it was mangled from a car accident. This is how the body heals itself. So what happens when we don't eat carbs? Well, we have backup systems. Now, we're so confused as a species. Food is a weapon system, so our experts aren't experts, that we should have simple answers to what to eat by now, you'd think, right? How can there be so much confusion where we think low fat, low carb, high protein? Again, we got to make things simple in this confusing world we live in. We can't trust our experts. We got to start thinking for ourselves. We got to make things real simplistic. Whenever you can't make things that don't make sense, try to make it simple. How are we designed? What makes sense? Do we have the anatomy to be eating those things? Will we do that in nature? Does it feel right to kill anything? If you feel comfortable killing things, and then you've been programmed to think you need protein. And yet our body wants simple. Our body's designed for simple. It's designed for the sugar in the fruits, not the starch in grains. It's designed for the amino acids in fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, free-floating amino acids. It's not designed for the protein in animal products. And even though sometimes the protein might look better on paper, it's not, because we overwork our body having to convert the protein into amino acids. We make our liver have to do all of that. And now we're eating food that takes too long to go through the food tube. It damages the kidneys. It contributes to a lot of health problems. So we can see a big improvement when we stop doing that, but we're not going to see a complete improvement until we correct all of our mistakes. And that's where the first of a 3-step process comes into play that I perfected, and you can go down to the description box below. If you're brand new to this, if you haven't heard anything I've ever said before, this is the first of a 3-step process I perfected. It allows us to correct 5 main mistakes on a temporary basis. And most people are going to probably disagree with at least one of those. They're going to say, I don't believe in number 2, I don't believe in number 3. I'll say, look, humor me, do yourself a favor, just take 1 week out of your life to see if what I say is true will happen. You think I'm a fool? Do you think I would come out here and say, oh, do this in 1 week and I guarantee this will happen? How would I say that if I didn't think it was true? I've coached thousands of people. I've done this myself over 1,200 days in the last 24 years. I know what I'm talking about. When you do this, it's an amazing transformation. Just like the caterpillar turns into a butterfly, this can happen to you. Problems can go away when we correct these mistakes. So, where are we at now? Confusion everywhere. How do we make sense out of this low carb, high carb? What do we do? Ask yourself a simple question. Does that food want me to eat it? Is there a symbiotic relationship with it? Does this food fear for its life when it's being killed, like all life struggles to cling on to life? Do you not have any compassion? Or is your false belief we need protein overtaking you? And in most cases, that's where we are. That's why I address so many videos on our belief system, because that's where it all starts, and that's how we're controlled, and that's how we're manipulated, and a lot of people don't want to wake up to that reality. But if you're on this planet, you've been programmed, you've been conditioned, as all of us have, in ways most of us never figure out, because it's done so subtly, and there are so many beliefs that everyone else thinks are true, so we just kind of believe what everyone else believes. So where do we begin? Well, I'd say start by questioning everything, even the things I say. Don't just say, it sounds good, I believe it. No, do this for yourself so you can speak with conviction. It's important for you to let people you know who are suffering know that there's an answer. And you got to get right in their face and say, look, man, you got to change. And if you don't, well, what do you say then? You're going to die? No. You're going to suffer? What do you say to them? Indeed, there is a time and a place when it's best not to say anything. When people believe that the only solution is to go to the so-called experts, if they're going to survive it, it's going to be because of their belief that they're some sort of magicians, which in effect they are. They're doing a sleight of hand trick by getting us to focus on the symptom. We got to get out of that mentality, but yet that's how we're raised, right? The pop the pill mentality. You have a problem, you turn to drugs, and then we arrest people for doing how they've been conditioned to do when they turn to recreational drugs. Wait a second, I was taught when we have a problem, pop a pill. Indeed, this planet has got to be the worst Twilight Zone episode in the history of Twilight Zone episodes. Once you wake up to what's going on, it's maddening. That's why I'm out here sometimes twice a day doing videos, hoping one will get more hits and attract more people than another. And yet I pretty much say the same thing, don't I? Well, what else is there to say? Except that there's only one thing we need to do in life, and that's get out of Plato's cave, take a close look at our belief system, change what we're doing, stop following fads, whether it's a low carb or starch-based diet. I mean, Atkins, McDougall, you guys are ignorant idiots. Idiots because you slam our ideal diet. If you didn't slam our ideal diet, I wouldn't be calling you an idiot, I'd just call you ignorant. I don't call too many people idiots unless they're useful idiots, and that's not the same application of the term. That's what Lenin meant when people didn't know what they were doing and they were helping people do something. I call people ignorant and fools for a good reason. The fools aren't chumps. They've been tricked and fooled. And every one of us have been tricked and fooled. Every one of us are ignorant. Most every one of us have been brought up to make the same mistakes our parents made. Got to correct those mistakes. Got to stop passing this mistake down to our children. And it all begins by you taking the first step if you haven't done so already. And if you have, then keep up the good fight. And this is a battle right now because we got to reach the tipping point soon before we're totally out of control. And we'll reach a point where maybe we can't fight back anymore. We're getting close to that with this type of police state we've created. And if you have this knee-jerk reflex right now to go, oh my God, a conspiracy theorist, I can't stand listening to this guy anymore, that's a perfect example of how we have been conditioned and programmed. The CIA coined that term and made it popular, so popular that everyone uses it when the people were disputing the official story of JFK. If you guys haven't woken up now to realize that the official story is always poppycock because history is written by the victors, then you're going to be continually tricked and fooled. We don't want to be a fool anymore. We can change that. But it begins by finding and applying knowledge that most of us don't have. And most of us aren't willing to do what we need to do, so that's where my first step comes into play. So I'm starting to ramble once again. All you have to do is start with the first step, And as I say many, many times, when you guys do this, you're in for a treat.